Have you ever felt the warmth of a single act of compassion turning emptiness into hope? Or witnessed how a small gesture can blossom into lasting harmony? Today, I want to share a story that showcases the profound power of love, a force so transformative that it can open every door, even in the face of hardship. This teaching, rooted in the Buddha's gentle wisdom, illustrates how compassion and selflessness have the power to free us from isolation and guide us toward genuine connection. Picture two siblings living in a simple home and bound by poverty, suddenly confronted with a moment of unbearable hunger. Only one bowl of rice remains for them both. A stark reality that would typically spark conflict or despair. Yet, in a selfless act, each sibling insists on giving the bigger portion to the other, prioritizing the well-being of the one they love. This profound gesture transcends the physical hunger they share, revealing that kindness can surpass even the most pressing needs. The Buddha's perspective teaches us that it is in these everyday acts of empathy and care that we discover the true nature of love, a key that can unlock the doors of suffering and dissolve boundaries that seem insurmountable. As you listen to this story, reflect on the countless times in your own life when you felt alone or helpless, longing for even a small sign of warmth from another person. How often did a modest act of kindness reignite your faith in humanity or restore your inner strength? The Buddha reminds us that love arises not only from grand gestures but also from the quiet willingness to share what little we have, even if it seems insignificant. Through this simple yet powerful story of two siblings sharing a humble bowl of rice, we are invited to awaken to the realization that love and empathy are the cornerstones of our deepest joy and peace. Imagine two siblings living in the humble surroundings of a small, worn home. Life has not been gentle with them. Their days are filled with simple tasks and meager resources, enough to test even the most resilient spirits. Then, one evening, they discover only a single bowl of rice remains for the both of them. Hunger gnaws at their empty stomachs, and the starkness of their reality is laid bare. Yet, rather than allowing desperation to breed conflict, each sibling insists on giving the bigger share to the other, hoping the one they love will be spared from suffering. This modest yet monumental act transforms a moment of potential bitterness into a vivid lesson on the power of love and compassion. According to the Buddhist teachings, true love does not demand loud declarations or abundant wealth. It is revealed in the willingness to prioritize someone else's comfort before your own. The simple bowl of rice, which could easily have been the catalyst for resentment, instead becomes a profound statement that real abundance is not found in quantity but in empathy. From a Buddhist viewpoint, every situation, even one as harsh as hunger, is an opportunity to express the compassion that unites us all. The Buddha often reminded us that by caring for another person's well-being, we unlock a deeper source of joy and tranquility within ourselves. Consider the many small sacrifices you have witnessed or performed in your own life: a friend lending a listening ear during a tough time, a family member setting aside personal desires so that you could thrive. Though these actions might seem minor on the surface, the Buddha's gentle wisdom points out that they carry immense spiritual significance. When we give freely to others, even if it is just a little rice, we demonstrate that love holds more power than scarcity. We discover that selfless acts enable us to experience a sense of connection that transcends material conditions. Such a perspective also reveals the illusion behind our cravings for more. We often believe happiness lies in greater wealth, bigger achievements, or unlimited resources. Yet, through this story, the Buddha reminds us that genuine fulfillment emerges when our hearts open to compassion. By giving away a piece of ourselves, we actually gain far more in return: a peaceful mind, a caring community, and an unshakable sense of purpose. This act of sharing, in truth, unburdens us from the bonds of ego and ushers in a pure, radiant form of happiness. May this simple example inspire you to look around and see where you might offer part of your bowl of rice. Perhaps it is in the form of time, a listening ear, or a kind word to someone in need. The Buddha's teaching invites us to see every moment of generosity, no matter how small, as a step on the path to love, harmony, and spiritual liberation. Let us journey deeper into the lessons revealed by the story of two siblings who share only a single bowl of rice, choosing love over conflict in a time of hardship. When one sibling insists the other take the larger portion, we witness more than just kindness. We discover a profound testament to the transformative power of compassion, a virtue at the heart of the Buddha's teachings. Today, I want to show you how this simple act of selfless love illuminates a path to inner peace, resilience, and interconnectedness. No matter the circumstances you face, according to the Buddha, genuine happiness has little to do with external comfort, wealth, or status. Instead, it arises from how we cultivate our hearts and treat one another. Though these siblings were materially poor, their spirits shone brightly with compassion. In our modern lives, it is easy to feel overwhelmed by desires and to forget how a small act of giving can transcend limitations we once believed insurmountable. Yet, by choosing to share even the smallest resource, be it food, time, or emotional support, we acknowledge that love is indeed the key that unlocks the doors of hopelessness and despair. The Buddha's gentle teachings remind us that such an acknowledgement sparks a kind of joy that no amount of material wealth can rival. When we reflect on this story, we realize how easily scarcity can lead to rivalry and fear. The siblings, however, reveal a different path. Instead of succumbing to desperation, they show us a moment of awakening, a living demonstration of the Buddha's guidance on mindful awareness and compassionate response. Each sibling actively chooses generosity over self-preservation, thus transforming what could have been a bitter conflict into a moment of unity. This unity is precisely what the Buddha spoke of when he encouraged us to find liberation from the delusion of separation. Far from being naive, the siblings' example echoes one of the core truths of Buddhism. Compassion is not simply a luxury but the foundation of real strength and enduring happiness. You may wonder, how can a single act of love spark such a profound change in perspective? In my own life, I have witnessed how small gestures of empathy can ripple into truly significant shifts within families, workplaces, or entire communities. I recall a time when a close friend unexpectedly offered me her only spare jacket on a freezing winter day, choosing to endure the cold herself so I would not suffer. That spontaneous generosity, though seemingly small, awakened me to the deeper bond that exists beneath our daily interactions. Like the siblings, my friend taught me that, in moments of scarcity, the human heart has the capacity to shine brightest, revealing a path to unity rather than division. Moreover, the Buddhist teachings encourage us to see every challenge as an opportunity to cultivate spiritual growth. If life were always easy, we might never discover the depth of our own compassion or the peace that arises from caring for someone else's well-being. It is often in times of adversity that we learn the most about who we are and what truly matters. Sharing a simple bowl of rice in a time of need turns from an act of survival into a statement of faith in our shared humanity, a reminder that, by helping another, we help ourselves. We begin to feel, as the Buddha gently said, that we are all connected, each of us carrying within the potential for immeasurable kindness. From a practical standpoint, how does this insight guide our daily lives? First, it reminds us to be aware of the countless opportunities we have to offer support or kindness, even in the smallest of ways. Perhaps someone around you is feeling isolated or burdened by responsibilities, like a coworker facing exhaustion or a neighbor going through an illness. Extending a helping hand, listening without judgment, or sharing even a little of your time can lift both your spirits and theirs. The Buddha would advise us to cultivate dana, the practice of giving freely, not as a mere transaction, but as a heartfelt expression of compassion. Second, we can incorporate moments of mindfulness to help us remain open to these opportunities. When we slow down and become present, we notice more subtle cues around us, someone's tired expression, a hint of anxiety in their voice, or the sense that they are silently battling stress. Through mindfulness, we also become aware of our own emotional states, ensuring we do not overlook a chance to help because we are too absorbed in our personal worries. When we trust the Buddha's guidance to remain awake to the moment, we find more than enough ways to practice love, even if we ourselves face challenges. Lastly, remember that the simplest demonstrations of love can resonate far beyond the initial act. The siblings' shared bowl of rice may not have been abundant in a material sense, yet it contained an immeasurable richness of the human spirit. Similarly, your gestures of kindness, sending an encouraging message, cooking a small meal for someone, or offering a sincere compliment can plant seeds of hope that flourish in unexpected ways. A little care can inspire someone else to pay that kindness forward, creating a chain of compassion that ripples through families, communities, and beyond. As you carry this story into your life, reflect on how you can practice these principles in the present moment. Call to action. Take a moment to identify one act of empathy you can perform today, be it for a family member, a friend, or a stranger. Perhaps it is as simple as giving them 5 minutes of attentive listening or sharing a meaningful conversation over a cup of tea. Each time you choose love over fear, empathy over self-interest, you honor the Buddha's compassionate teaching, and you move one step closer to genuine happiness. After all, it is in the act of caring that we discover our own capacity for abundant joy, reinforcing that love is the key that can open every door, no matter how locked it may appear. In this realization, we find that caring for others not only brightens their days but renews our own spirit. We uncover that the deepest fulfillment lies not in self-centered pursuits but in the warmth and courage of compassion. Let the story of these two siblings remind you that every day offers a fresh chance to express love, that every breath can be an opportunity to uplift someone's spirit, and that by giving freely from our hearts, we become truly enriched in return. At this point, our exploration of how love and compassion can transform even the smallest act of sharing has brought us face to face with one profound truth: caring genuinely for another person softens the harsh edges of life in ways no amount of persona, else success or wealth ever could. When two siblings choose to split a single bowl of rice, they demonstrate more than mere survival. They provide a shining example of how love, often expressed in the tiniest gestures, becomes a key that unlocks the doors of fear, despair, and isolation. Today, let us look more deeply at how these principles rooted in the Buddha's gentle teachings can be integrated into our lives, empowering us to find joy and resilience wherever we may stand. According to the Buddha, the cultivation of compassion is not a luxury but rather an essential practice for awakening our best selves. He taught that when we open our hearts to love, we both soothe our own suffering and help lift the burdens of those around us. Yet so frequently, we get caught up in our own struggles, money issues, career pressures, personal insecurities, and we forget that a single act of kindness can create a chain reaction of positive change. Just as a small match can kindle a warm fire in a cold night, one sincere moment of love can spark hope in others, reminding us that we are not alone in our difficulties. Reflect, for instance, on a moment in your own life when you were overwhelmed by obstacles. Perhaps someone lent you their listening ear or shared a small kindness that, although modest, drastically shifted your outlook. Suddenly, the mountain before you seemed climbable. This phenomenon parallels the sibling story. Rather than letting hunger drive them apart, they strengthened each other through a loving act. The Buddha encourages us to observe these moments and recognize that when we focus on supporting one another, we tap into a boundless reservoir of collective strength and compassion. This vision of unity mirrors the concept of interdependence, a core Buddhist idea stating that no one thrives in isolation. Our well-being, far from being solely individual, is intertwined with the well-being of all beings around us. Embodying this principle requires conscious awareness. Each day, we confront countless situations that could, if allowed, harden our hearts and make us retreat into self-concern. But the Buddha teaches us that awareness, or mindfulness, is what allows us to pause before shutting ourselves off from others. By pausing, we get to choose compassion over indifference. In that moment of choice when we say, "Yes, I will share what I have, even if it is little," or "Yes, I will offer comfort or guidance, even if my own problems are large," we claim the capacity to make love real and tangible. Through this practice, we anchor ourselves in empathy rather than personal stress, discovering that love in action can be a powerful balm for our own anxieties as well. You might wonder, though, how to maintain this perspective in a world that often tells us to look out for ourselves first. I, too, have experienced doubts, feeling at times that if I do not prioritize my own needs, I might be left behind. But let us remember how sharing a single bowl of rice led not to deprivation but to greater unity, relief, and a sense of profound connectedness. Far from losing something, both siblings gained a sense of emotional richness. From a Buddhist viewpoint, this is the essence of skillful means, using compassion as a tool not just for moral good, but for healing, both for ourselves and for those we interact with. Moreover, practicing love does not mean ignoring your own needs or permitting others to exploit your kindness. The Buddhist teachings encourage a balance, extending compassion to ourselves as much as to others. This may mean recognizing personal boundaries and ensuring we have the emotional stability to give wisely. Yet the pivotal lesson remains: an act of love, no matter how small, can unlock hearts that might otherwise remain closed behind doors of distrust or fear. And to be the one who initiates love is to align our will with a universal force that draws us closer to peace. Call to action. After this message, I challenge you to identify one specific way you can share what you have, whether it is material support, a heartfelt compliment, a short note of gratitude, or a listening ear to someone who needs it today. Embrace this moment as an opportunity to demonstrate that love, even in its simplest form, is the key to forging resilience and understanding. By committing to such a practice, you not only lighten another's burden but also reinforce in your own heart the power of compassion taught by the Buddha. You nurture the conditions for peace and insight to flourish within you, one small act at a time. In the end, the story of those two siblings is more than a sweet anecdote. It is a guiding light on the path to compassionate living, revealing that real humanity shines through in our most challenging moments. When we abandon fear and suspicion, choosing instead to bond with the people around us, we realize that love truly is the key that opens every door. May we each continue to learn from their example, letting love guide our hearts and letting compassion be the language we speak most clearly in our daily lives. For in the space where love dwells, the illusions of separation and limitation fade away, ushering in a brighter, more unified future for all. As we draw near the end of this journey, let us gather the lessons illuminated by the story of two siblings who chose to share a single bowl of rice rather than allow their mutual hardships to drive them apart. In that simple act, we see the essence of what the Buddha so kindly taught us: genuine love, expressed through compassion and selflessness, can break the chains of fear, isolation, and even desperation. When we allow our hearts to be guided by this love, we discover that seemingly insurmountable obstacles can dissolve into opportunities for unity and healing. Reflect on the transformative power of a moment when one sibling insists the other take more, prioritizing another's need above their own. This decision, though small in a material sense, carries a resonance beyond physical nourishment. It is a reminder that, at our core, we share an unbreakable bond of humanity, and by tending to that bond with love, we tap into a wellspring of resilience and hope. Through the Buddha's compassionate lens. Such acts are not mere kindnesses. They are active steps toward liberation. Liberation from ego-driven desires and the illusion of separateness. In your own life, there will be times when you face challenges that feel too heavy to bear. In those moments, I encourage you to remember these siblings. Call upon the truth that love, no matter how humble in its expression, can open any door that appears locked. A word of comfort, a brief sacrifice of your own comfort, a quiet willingness to see another's burdens. These small gestures, when performed with sincerity, have the power to connect hearts and lift spirits. This is the path the Buddha illuminated for us, one of empathy, generosity, and unwavering faith in our shared capacity for good. So, as you step forward from this message, may you resolve to embody the spirit of that shared bowl of rice. Seek out opportunities each day to offer compassion, even if all you can give is a caring thought, or through a sunlit forest, a curious fox with a fluffy tail and bright, glimmering eyes darted between the trees, its tiny paws leaving soft imprints on the mossy ground. Pausing to sniff a patch of wildflowers, it tilted its head, listening to the distant chirp of a bird, as if the entire forest were a melody it alone could understand.